When Rick Grimes says, "I'm doing stuff, Lori, thanks," and he does the head tilt, and then Negan says to Sasha, "But I know you've seen some things." You're not Rick. You're not Rick Grimes, Negan. Hey guys, so this is my first of all, this is my second video, but my first video kind of just giving, I don't know, just throwing out some thoughts that I have about this season and kind of the direction of the series. The Walking Dead is probably the show that I've been most connected to ever. I was a big fan of Breaking Bad, but it's something like, that show was brilliant and witty, and I think, actually, was it Anthony Hopkins? It was a famous actor. He wrote a letter to the cast of not The Walking Dead, to Breaking Bad, and he said how the acting was superb, and so much of that was facial expressions, and that's always stuck with me. And I just, when you see, Heisenberg and the evil in his face, and it's like, no, the script is amazing because it lets faces act when words would never do justice to what a deceiving face or heartbreak or something like that. But The Walking Dead is my favorite show of all time because I am so emotionally attached to these characters, and it deals with constant questions of morality and what is right, what is wrong, character development, being in the worst situations imaginable, family, and just, there's so much I love about it. And I love how it's this continuous story from the beginning, but if you think about season 7 and then you rewatch season 1, it's so different. Recently I was rewatching earlier seasons, and the scene in season 1 when they have to hide under the cars because there's the herd coming, that's one of my favorites. That scene brings me so much anxiety, but in a good way. If you're somebody and you enjoy like Air Force One, or when you're on the edge of your seat, and it's not necessarily gore, because I don't enjoy watching gore. I like the suspense before that and the tension. But when they're under the cars and the way the cameras are low and you just see the feet passing, like, that brings me so much more like enjoyable anxiety, as weird as that sounds, as compared to just like, somebody biting you really nastily, that's not a word, but anyway, and I think the show's kind of deviated away from kind of, I don't know how to explain it, like suspense to action, and in some ways I get it, but I kind of miss season 1, 2, even when they were at the prison and things were simpler. Now everything's so complicated, there are so many characters, and I miss the development of the relationships between characters, because there's so much that I think the people who are doing the show feel like they need to get in within a season, that it's at the expense of what and I think a lot of other people enjoy about the show. When you think about when Daryl and Carol went to Atlanta in Consumed, and they're trying to find Beth, but there's the dialogue about how, Carol says, the woman that she was when she was with her husband got burned away, and then she became who she always thought she should have been at the prison, but then that got burned away. And that's just a scene I think Melissa McBride is the best actress on the show, if not the best actor on the show. She just has this sophistication and subtlety and brilliance and wit about her that I love. Carol, I don't agree with the things that she's done, but just seeing her, and I haven't liked her this season, and I get it, because you're not always gonna like characters, and maybe she'll ascend again, but I miss like the episodes, was it Still or Alone, when it was Beth and Daryl, and it's after the prison had fallen, and they're doing the game, like, Never Have I Ever, and she assumes that he had been to jail, and he's, you know, really hurt by that, because I think he, in a weird way, kind of looks up to Beth, or maybe not looks up to her, but he sees so much goodness and virtue in her. So for someone who's that innocent and pure to think something like that about him, especially when it's not true, I think really hurt his feelings, especially considering the way he was abused as a child and just hasn't had an easy life. I miss that. And then when he breaks down and he like lashes at her, but then she hugs him, and there's a scene immediately after she hugs him, he breathes and he kind of looks up and he like smiles a little bit, and then he puts his head back down and he just starts bawling. And he just starts bawling. But there was that little smile. It's like what the actor, I think it was Anthony Hopkins, said, it's the subtlety of facial expressions. And it's the same thing on this show. In season 7, episode 1, when Rick is completely broken, it's not just the scene when he's crying, when he's been told he has to, Carl's arm. It's the brokenness in his face. I think facial expressions are the greatest indication of how good of an actor you are. And like Melissa McBride, Norman Reedus, like Michonne, like one of my, it's not my favorite scene, but it's something I always notice, is when the group are leaving the hilltop and Maggie just had her ultrasound and they're passing the pictures. When Michonne looks at it, she smiles, and then her smile goes away. And I always thought the reason her smile goes away isn't because she's worried about, the baby and she's thinking about Lori. I always think she's thinking about the loss of her own son. And then she hands it to Daryl and he has that little smile, but then his smile falls, and then Abraham gets it, and Abraham's thinking about, the future he wants to have with Sasha. I miss that. I don't think season 7, to my recollection, has had those moments as much. It's more about telling the story and all these sequences of events that have to fit in to lead to the battle, as opposed to character development. And it's not necessarily a criticism of, the showrunners or the writers, as opposed to it's just an acknowledgement that they had to put in all these different communities and them getting ready to battle. It's telling that story, and I think it's been at the sacrifice of what has been my favorite aspect of the show, which is it is about the characters and not, fighting Negan. I don't think on a whole people have dealt with Glenn's death the way that they should have. Like, when I rewatch season 1, it's, Glenn is a central character. He's the OG. He saved Rick's life. And they've mentioned it so briefly. I don't even think they've showed enough of... I get Maggie's being strong, but... when the group decided to kill the saviors and, like, slaughter them in their sleep, I thought that was the worst decision that they've ever made on the show. I don't think Rick really would have done that without understanding the group he was going up against. I just don't... when you watch a show or you watch a movie and you don't think the character would have done that, and you kind of blame the person who wrote it. Again, this is not an insult to, like, Kirkman or anybody else. I just don't think Rick would have been that stupid. I understand he was so cocky, and now we see the fall and how he had to have humility and just be, like, trashed, and now he's building himself up. But I don't think Rick, it's not even that cocky, it's that stupid to have done what he did, and for everybody, including Father Gabriel, to go along with it. I just don't think so. What else? That's off after 10 minutes, so I don't know how much this caught. So I'm just going to go back and say, in the previous episode or 2 before, when Daryl and Maggie finally talk to each other, and he just says, I'm sorry, and he's just so broken. And it's such good acting, and it broke my heart. But in terms of like how I don't think Rick, really the character, would be that cocky or stupid to have gone after the Saviors, I don't think Sasha is that stupid to go after him either. It just seems out of character. Like, she had her little crazy moment season 6 where she basically wanted to die, and I don't think she's reverted to that. I just think these characters are acting out of character, you know? I know this sounds really negative. I remember when I first saw season 6, I hated it, and I rewatched it, and I've learned to like it more. I guess I'm just such a fan of the earlier seasons. It could be I prefer it when things were simpler and when walkers were the biggest problem, and they did have run-ins with people. But again, and I don't mean to sound like a broken record, I just really miss the emphasis of the characters' relationships and one-on-one interactions. Like, I want Carol and Daryl to have another consumed episode. I wish Beth was still alive. And I get it that, people are saying, there's a reason the show or this season's taken a different direction. Everything had to fall apart in order to come back together, and you appreciate it. And I do think, viewing this season in viewpoint of the entire show, it's so distinctly different, even from season 6, that there is a type of brokenness that the group has never experienced. But as a viewer, it is so frustrating to watch everybody not be together. I mean, I remember watching at least the earlier episodes of season 7 when it focused on just one person. Like, the first episode of season 7 was so brutal, and then the next episode with Carol was like a joke. Like, it was almost like an overcompensation for levity, if that makes sense. Like, it was too light from what I remember. And the whole time, it's like, as a viewer, you're just like, what's the group up to? What is the group doing? You just want everybody to be together, and I understand that's not always going to happen, but I don't like watching it as much, and I just really hope that season 8 everyone's kind of back together. Now, I've read snippets of the comics, and when I mean snippets, I mean I spent maybe an hour, maybe less than an hour, like, reading some stuff, so I have an idea loosely of some of the things that are to come. But from what I know, the show has deviated in some respects from the comic. And one of the things I really like about Robert Kirkman is that from what I've heard, he views the show and the comic as two distinct things, and he enjoys it when writers have different ideas of what characters should do. And I love that. I don't know if, Scott Gimple and everybody should follow the comic as much as they are now. It's coming. Take this with all the salt, all the kosher salt. This is coming from somebody who doesn't read the comic. That being said, I mean, I would just think of something else. And it's like, I'm done with Negan. Forget about Negan. I'm done. I don't care about him. I have no emotional attachment to him. I get it. He's good looking. He has a very dark sense of humor, and sometimes you smile when you really shouldn't be. But I'm done. The governor, he was dead. He died. To move on. I want everybody to be together. I want Daryl to cry into Carol's arms. I want Judith to grow up and be fabulous. I just want everybody to be together. It's all I want. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, where do I want the show to go? I want everybody to be together. I want it to be more relationship based, even if that means there's less action. I don't care. Again, you do another thing where, like in a similar vein, where they have to hide under cars, that is more exciting than Daryl blowing up people with a whatever, like a rocket thing. I'm very articulate. I don't know. So, I know this isn't a very positive video, but I love The Walking Dead, and I wouldn't have such strong opinions if I didn't care so much. I know that basically nobody watches my videos, but I am going to continue making them because I enjoy it, and doing this brings me a lot of joy, and even if one person watches this and smiles and says, yeah, I get it. Oh, I know what to talk about. On my Twitter, I don't shut up. I want to talk about in this segment of my video, and I'm going to go on my Twitter, which has 15 followers the last time I checked, so, you know, you could say I'm rolling in the dough. I'm very proud of that, because none of the people who follow me are my friends. Because none of my friends care. The reason I have to start this is I have so many pent-up emotions and thoughts. So I'm just going to go through some of the things that I wrote. No order, but okay. Does Rick know that Michonne had a child? I don't think he knows. She told Carl. I don't think Carl told Rick. But could you imagine dating somebody and not knowing that that person had a kid? I don't know. Oh, I don't feel like Maggie's baby bump is showing. How many months pregnant is she? And I came up with this motto, slogan in my head. Little, like, baby Ree, bring in the glee. Baby is cute. Carol, she used to have such a heavy southern accent in the first season, and now she sounds like she's from Michigan. The fact that I don't know what Carol's last name is, like, I always have to look it up, don't know how to say it. I don't know how many times anybody's ever said her last name, but I think it's kind of funny that out of the OG characters, like, we know it's Glenn Rhee, Rick Grimes, Daryl Dixon, Carol Padadada? I don't know. You know, just the idea that I think Steven, who plays Glenn, obviously, he once, you know, he was talking about how Glenn had looked so much up to Dale. I love Dale. Dale was like the moral compass that Rick needed, and Herschel kind of took over Dale's place. But now Rick has nobody kind of older than him or wiser than him to help keep him straight. Like, Michonne's good at having common sense, but again, since they're dating, I think it's been kind of skewed. So I miss having an older, wiser person to question Rick in a way that, you know, makes him think about what is right, what is wrong, and not just have Rick do what he thinks is right for the group. And the idea that, like, Daryl, who I love, but sometimes makes very poor, bad decisions, he was the one who said to, you know, Paul, I'm going to call him Paul, not Jesus. Come at me. We'll take out the saviors, and we want one of them cows. Do you think if Beth was alive, Daryl would have been so apt to take out the saviors and come up with that idea? Because I don't. Oh, and in that same episode, when Maggie's about to make the deal with Gregory for like half of everything, before that, you know, Rick's talking about fighting, and she says it's gonna cost us something. Like, your husband. Okay. Okay. So many things. Oh, something about a Gregory-Denise comparison, which I keep talking about, but I don't care. I'm going to keep talking about it. That when Gregory, the walker, falls on top of Gregory, and he can't kill it, but Maggie kills it, it reminded me so much of Denise, and when she was trying to get the soda, and she opens the door and the walker falls on her, and Daryl and Rosita come and she says, no, I'm gonna do it myself, and she stabs the walker in the head, because Gregory had never killed a walker before. Denise hadn't either, but Denise killed hers. Just something to think about. And I also, nobody cares about my opinions, but Rick Negan comparisons, they both shaved their beards at Alexandria. When I was watching the scene where Negan stabbed, I think his name was David, in the throat, who was about to assault Sasha, that scene immediately reminded me of when Rick bit the throat of the claimers who were going to assault Carl and Michonne. So it's just something to think about, how Negan killed someone with a throat wound, kind of the same way Rick killed someone by a throat wound to prevent the same type of assault from happening. I just thought that was interesting. Was there another one? I never tweeted so much in my life. Oh, and I think Eugene is still good, because I think somebody kind of made this point, so I'm sorry, whoever, not all, but if Eugene had kept the poison pills long enough to give them to Sasha, doesn't that indicate in some sense that he isn't Negan? Like, wouldn't he want to dispose of pills that could be used to kill somebody? Because who's the only one who could make pills like that? Him. And it would only bite him in the butt if Negan found out, but he kept them. And I always think of the RV scene when he hugs Abraham, and you know, Eugene could have been murdered by the Savior so easily, and he didn't. And he saw his best friend die, and I can't believe, and I won't believe, that he is that much of a coward. He is a savior, he is a savior, he's a survivor. Oh my gosh. He's a survivor. And he's gonna be good in the end. He's gonna be good. Rosita is the most annoying character ever. Father Gabriel was really annoying for a while, but then he took care of Judith when all the walkers kind of broke into Alexandria. Rosita's the worst. She can't kill him from a foot away, and then she wants to, just follow Rick's lead, ladies. I just don't believe. Ugh. I believe Rosita would go after Negan, but I don't think Sasha is quite that stupid. Andrew Lincoln absolutely deserves an Emmy. If he doesn't get an Emmy just based off his performance in Season 1, Episode 1, the Emmy committee, society, community is wrong, and they should all be fired. How's that? What else we some random angry thoughts I have. So, if you have any comments, I would love to hear them. This is my life now. I am a proud member of the Walking Dead community, and thank you for watching my video. You have no idea how much it means to me, and I hope this just brings a little lightness and levity into your daily life, just for a little bit. And again, if you have any comments, I would love to hear it. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!